A small glimpse of what we face in education today. First slide. Please see this chart. In the first column, second column, you can see the population. 36 lakhs for Tripura, 29 lakhs for Meghalaya, 25 lakhs for Manipur, 19 lakh population in Nagaland. But you look at the number of schools that these states have. Tripura with a 36 lakh population has only 4,900 schools. Meghalaya with a population of 29 lakhs has got 14,582 schools. Manipur with a population of 25 lakhs has 4,600 schools. In terms of teachers, again Meghalaya is at the top with 55,160 schools. These are all put together, private as well as government. And in the schools, if you look at it, the government schools, Meghalaya has got 7,783 schools. And the last column, which is all the government aided schools, the private schools, which means the deficit and the ad hoc schools, which grants are given, 4,172 schools get grants in Meghalaya, private schools. These are ad hoc and deficit. Whereas in the other states, Nagaland, 0 grant is given to any school. There is no grant given to private schools. Tripura, 43 schools only receive grant. Manipur, 583 only receive grants. And so on and so forth. The sheer number of schools that we have in Meghalaya is mind-boggling. And this has happened through the years, in the last 52 years. Nobody's to blame. I'm just giving you facts of what is happening in Meghalaya. Out of all the schools that are there, private as well as government, there are 206 schools which have not a single student, 0 student. And yet, we have teachers teaching in those schools, and government is paying for those teachers. And there's no enrollment. There's not a single student in these schools. There are 2,269 schools where there is single-digit student. So out of 14,000, there are 2,200 where there are 3 or 4 teachers and there is only 1 or 2 or maximum 9 students. Among them, out of them in the ad hoc and deficit, which is basically the private schools which are supported by government or aided by government, the 4,000 plus schools which I had shown, there are 18 such ad hoc and deficit schools with 0 students in them. Which means government is giving grant in aid, but there's no teacher, there's no students studying in these schools. And there are 1,141 schools like this in private schools, is ad hoc and deficit, where we have a single student only, single digit student. We have 30 SSA schools with 0 students. Not a single student is studying in these schools. And 268 SSA schools where there is less than 10 students, maybe 2, 3, 4, but there are 4 teachers teaching out there. In the 30 SSA schools which have no student, there are 4 teachers teaching. There are 11 government schools with 0 enrollment, 132 schools with single digit. This is a very interesting slide. This is the amount of money that we pay for salaries every year. Please remember, 1,967 crores is paid by government of Meghalaya out of the 27,000 crores we spend goes to salaries of teachers in government and private schools. Private means aided schools, that is ad hoc and deficit. Out of that, government schools we pay 684. SSAs we pay 366. But the private schools where grant in aid is given, we are giving close to 1,000 crores for salaries every year. Which means we are giving more money to private schools which are under deficit or ad hoc pattern more than even the government schools themselves. This is the pass percentage for the last 10 years in the state of Meghalaya, hovering at 50-55% every year, and it's been stagnant like this for a decade. There are 36 schools where not a single student passes in the last 3 years, for past 3, which means that in 2022, 118 schools were there where number of students gave exams in board exam, but not a single student passed. In 2023, there were 146 such schools where many students who are enrolled in that school appeared for exam, not a single student passed. In 2024, there were 124 such schools where not a single student passed. And in the last 3 years, there are 36 of these schools. For last 3 years, continuously, no student has passed class 10. I think it's the last slide. I didn't want to go into this actually, to be very frank. This is our headache, and this is what we have to go through. And this is just a tip of the iceberg of what we are trying to share with you, to tell you the size of the problem that we face in front of us. It's huge. 14,000 schools, 55,000 teachers, 4,000 plus private schools being aided by government, more than the amount we give to our own schools. We're giving salaries for private schools. I'm not saying we don't want to, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't. We should. But this is just to put things in perspective, that this is what the government is doing today.
Nara chugumak ansing baljokna skama mabanggi jasan.
Chugumak tanang?
Endako de kuros kamatungo maina chugumak kuni jainga. Plus F markadong pako.
Plus F?
Salantio anchini chaani rango. Peena namgani rangko de bangakon watchanga. Jayan anchini bimang. Gisik. Porayani. Nambate rakani. Mandapani. Aro gemuk konik nikata. Nang koban.
Ndak plianga chaunan machungjak?
Oe chugumak nanganirang unigaman na atta merong kari to aro dutrang ho koros kaingon plus F marka dongpa ko sa nibo maina uno iron aro vitamin rang ko nangani kriotna songi chane chaoba mukron chinioba aro chathoanioba mamang dengtangani ko ijawa
dengtang rekani ko ijora maina sabrins ka injok
ndiba mengsau blongen dengtang rekani donga anchinian sing baljokaniyo Nambata chaani rengani chi, nambate jangi thangani. Plus F marka dongpa chaani rangko, daaloni jakhalbo.